Your club should have sold this January. Let's go. Arsenal probably should have looked at moving on some of the players that aren't starting week in week out, as their squad is quite big and they are not in every competition anymore. Maybe looking at selling someone like Zinchenko, who's only made 8 appearances this season. His contract runs out in 2026. He has a decent market value as he's won trophies, played at Man City, played at Arsenal. He's clearly a player, maybe not quite at the level of where Arsenal want to be. With his contract running out in a season and a half's time, only starting a couple of Premier League games this year, you could have brought in probably 20, 30 million for him. Aston Villa, still in the Champions League, doing very well in the Champions League, haven't really got the attacking threat they needed out of their attacking players, such as Jacob Ramsey. So maybe looking at selling someone with a decent transfer market value of 35 million could have just helped balance the books a little bit better, allowed them to maybe fund Marcus Rashford's loan, and then maybe even improve in a centre back position where they've struggled, having to deadline day deal for Disasi. So 35 million, and Villa should have sold Jacob Ramsey. Bournemouth have looked absolutely incredible this season. Currently sits in 7th Premier League, only 3 points off being in the top four. And quite hard to pick a player for them, but Marcus Tavernier probably hasn't hit the heights he's actually hit in a Bournemouth shirt already this season, with only 1 goal in 17 appearances. Everton seem to be interested, and if you get a nice easy 20 million for him, I think it almost would be a no-brainer. However, Bournemouth have struggled with injury problems, so I can kind of understand why they haven't looked to sell anyone really. Up next is Brentford, who currently is sitting 11th in the Premier League and splashed out £27.5 million for Fabio Carvalho in the summer. Over in 17 appearances, only has 1 goal and 1 assist. You could probably look to move him on. You'd be lucky to regain the money you got for him, so maybe a loan with an option or a loan with a mandatory could be the best way that Brentford could look at moving him on. I think everybody expected more from Brighton with the way they started the season, but after dropping off dramatically since the start of December, they'll be looking at maybe offloading to rebuild for next season. I think Joel Veltman could be a victim of that. Maybe getting around 10 million for the 33-year-old. He started in the 7-0 defeat to Forest, Brighton 10th in the league. I think it'd be a no-brainer if Brighton were offered the money. Look at investing further into new positions. Chelsea, Robert Sanchez. Palace could look into selling Eberechi Eze, who has a transfer market value of 55 million, which has actually dropped from around 65 million in the summer. Sign Eze, so clearly have the view of moving Eze on. Wow, that's really confusing because of their names. Palace currently sit 12 and 4 points off entering the top half. However, I think a European charge is looking quite unlikely. They also have Mateus Franca, who could fit into that position quite nicely. Everton, I think, is quite obvious, have lacked a lot of attacking threat before David Moyes joined. Ever since David Moyes has joined, Lindstrom was given a chance. He has currently 19 games without a goal and assists. He's played 43% of available minutes, yet cannot get a goal or assist for his life. This man played for Napoli. What? Everton have hit form, winning 3 out of their 5 last Premier League games. They've got 10 out of 15 points, and I think Everton will be looking to really, really develop through David Moyes. Fulham, you've got a decent-sized squad, and they're one of them teams that could have very likely pushed for Europe, but probably will just miss out. I think they could get rid of Andreas Pereira, who's eating minutes in their midfield. Started the season very well and had a really good season last year. Over this year's dropped off with a potential summer move to Olympique Marseille was talked about last summer. His contract runs out in 2026, and despite being involved in 10% of their goals, I think they could upgrade. Up next is Ipswich, who currently sit 19th in the Premier League. I think that they probably should have looked at moving on Muric, who they only signed in the summer from Burnley, but he's already conceded 33 goals this season at the point of recording, probably more by now. Yeah, he's quite a young keeper, but at 3 points from safety, they really should have looked at signing a new keeper or a young keeper that's better, ready for when they get relegated to hope to come back up to the Premier League. Leicester have Samara in midfield, who's played 55% of available minutes. Someone explain to me how. He is useless. They're 2 points from safety. They have Ndidi and Oliver Skip sitting on the bench. Oliver Skip was their record signing. I don't know how he's not had more minutes because Samari is useless. Liverpool next, no one. What's the point? They're so good. They're going to win the league by miles. They don't need anyone. Man City have had a very poor season so far. Everyone expected a lot better from Man City. I would have to talk about Gundogan coming back. Yeah, it was great to have a legend return, but the man has no goals, only a couple of assists. And you would think that Man City should be looking at a younger, more expressive midfielder that can really, really replicate what De Bruyne was doing for them. But De Bruyne's downfall this season has been incredible. Up next, you have Man United, who definitely could have done with some January business. Their worst player this season, you'd probably say, is Joshua Zirkzee, who cost them 35 million in the summer. He's been on seriously poor form. With Man United sitting 13th, you can't blame it all on him, but being a striker with only 3 goals probably adds to the reason why Man United are 8 points off Europe. A January move to Juve was rumoured and probably should have Man United made it happen. Up next is Joe Willock, who's got 28% of available minutes this season with no goals. For his sake of his own career at 25, he'd probably want to progress. He only cost Newcastle 29 million and he has a transfer market value still of 28. You'd think that they can sell him off for about the same price they bought him for. Up next, Nottingham Forest signed Awani a couple years ago, but unfortunately he's not good enough considering the shock improvement that Nottingham Forest have made. They look absolutely incredible, but Chris Wood won't last forever, and at the age of 33 could potentially get an injury, and in which case they would not have a viable backup. Up next is Southampton, who have Bella Kotchap. Last season was out on loan at PSV. Yes, got injured, but did get some European minutes. I find it remarkable that he cannot get into their back line considering they're 20th. Should definitely look to sell. Up next is Spurs, and we've gone for the lone player Timo Werner, who's played 17 games this season and not got a single goal. Also, probably not completely all his fault. Tottenham have been appalling. He's also been played out of position. However, you would expect more from such an experienced player. Guido Rodriguez, who they signed in the summer on a free transfer, has been absolutely appalling. That CDM position he's meant to control, he has not controlled it. They have been awful. West Ham should look to move on straight away and play Thomas Souček in any available minute he can over this guy. Finally, we have Wolves, who should definitely look to sell on Gonzalo Guedes. They've been 2 managers deep this season. Neither managers have particularly loved Guedes. He's played 21 games, scored 2 goals. He cost them 32 million a couple seasons ago. Since they signed him, he's been out on 2 loans in 3 seasons. Probably not good enough for Wolves, though selling him for 20 million could be a steal for another club. Probably just not in the